Hello and welcome to my garden journey. This is the third video in my chicken series, and today I will be talking about feeding chickens. Chickens are a wonderful addition if you're looking to produce your own protein in your garden or your small holding, or you just want something that's going to help with fertilisation or just a little bit of company in the garden. I have my chickens for eggs, and it's been absolutely wonderful for the last few years. I've been able to produce eggs without having to go to the supermarket for it. There's something just amazing about having eggs that are just from your own garden. They taste a million times better. But to get those eggs, you do need to be putting feed into the front end, so it's not completely free. It's going to cost. And at different stages of the chicken's life, they'll need different types of food. Before I go into the different types of feed for chicken, I just want to cover off scraps, because chickens are wonderful composters. You can put different types of food in with the chickens and they'll just eat through that and produce manure at the end of it, which is really great for composting. With chicken manure, leave it a few months before spreading it anywhere, but after that it will be absolutely amazing on your veg patch. Here in the UK, you can't actually take your kitchen scraps and give it straight to the chickens. Unfortunately, that is actually illegal, and that's all about trying to avoid the spread of infection between humans and chickens and humans. So anything that's entered your house can't then come and feed your chickens. So I tend to make sure that anything I'm feeding my chickens come from my garden. I'm not sure how anyone will know whether you've done it, but if there is some form of disease outbreak and they do investigate, clearly that will be part of the law that they will be looking at. So chickens will need different types of feed depending on their age. That's because they need different levels of protein, calcium and other nutrients in order to be healthy. And it starts off when they're chicks. So if you're purchasing chicks, whether they're day old to raise for eggs or whether that's for meat, you're going to need to give them some chick crumb. Now, chick crumb is something that is nice and small and again comes with a particular mix of minerals and proteins that are suitable for growing chicks, because they do grow pretty fast. The next stage of chicken's life is when they're a grower, so effectively like a teenager, so they're putting on weight really quickly, but they're not laying yet. So again, they need to have a particular mix of minerals and nutrients and proteins so they're growing healthily. Once that is completed, they then move on to layers. And now layers are when they're old enough to be laying eggs, and they really do need to have enough calcium and other minerals to make sure they're healthy whilst they're producing you those lovely eggs. Chicken feed comes in different forms as well. So you can have chick crumb, which is generally how chick crumb will come, so it doesn't change shape. But as you move into the world of growers and layers, you have generally two different types of feed presentation. The first one being pellets, which is what I use because it's the simplest and least messy of the options. And the other one is mash, where it is flakes, and you can, if you wanted to, turn them into little cakes for them to eat, or just give them the mash to eat. Like I say, I tend to go for the pellets because they're just a lot easier to manage and it doesn't cause a huge amount of mess. We allow our chickens to have free access to their feed. That's because they will tend to eat what they need and what they want. Chickens will need more than just the food that you give them. They're going to need some grit to go with it. And that's because chickens don't eat the food in the way that we would, so they don't have teeth in the same way. So they will store the food because they're effectively prey, so they don't sit and digest. They'll store it and they'll digest it later on, and the grit will help break up the food so that they can digest it a lot easier. So we tend to give them some additional grit. On top of the grit, we will also give them some oyster shells, and that means that they get an extra amount of calcium and materials in order to build their eggshells, and that is a really good addition to help them out. The final thing we feed our chickens is a little bit of extra treats, and that comes in the form of corn or other types of dried berries, etc. that they can have, and is a really nice way to tame your chickens because you can hold them in your hand and the chicken will just come up and eat from it. Feed storage is really important because it can attract vermin, generally mice or potentially rats as well. We stored our food in the cupboard in our garden, and unfortunately that did get attacked by mice. So that did ruin, I think, at least 2 bags of feed. We've since moved to storing the feed in galvanised bins, and that way they're nicely protected from rain and from animals that may want to eat it. If you want to have a little bit more information on equipment for chickens, I'll put a link up in the corner of the screen now. But that's it for this episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.